Mary Katharine Ham, Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority.
105.9 FM, WMAL.
Well, as we talked about yesterday, it seems that if you live in the state of Maryland, you're going to be paying more in taxes one way or another. Now, where those taxes will come from, that's up to debate, and that's something the General Assembly is going to have to work out in the next couple of weeks. We asked Peter Franchot, the Maryland State Comptroller, to come on the show, and he is here. Mr. Comptroller, good to have you on. Thanks very much for your time.
Brian, thank you very much. Nice to be on your show.
Well, as the Comptroller, as a man who sees the numbers on an everyday basis, what is the fiscal health of Maryland right now? We
are in the midst of a feeble recovery from what can only be described as the Great Recession. We have high unemployment, high foreclosure rate. We've written down the tax revenue figures recently. So I'm just urging everybody to be cautious, Brian, and hold the line on spending and borrowing and new taxes.
Okay, but no more borrowing, or ease up on the borrowing, no new taxes?
No. I'm look, we obviously have a complicated economy.
Right.
I'm on the committee that recommends to the legislature what we borrow, and we should have been borrowing about at $925 million, which is a large amount of money. But I strongly objected when my colleagues outvoted me and added $150 million of new debt. It's that adding of new debt, adding of new spending, adding of new taxes, which instead of helping the recovery, hurts the recovery.
Well, and on that point, Governor O'Malley has said in just the last few days that he's sort of in favor of upping the flush tax. He's sort of in favor of doing a gas tax increase, which would be a significant amount of money that people would pay out of their pockets every day. And then out of the blue, he raised this possibility that he might be in favor of raising the sales tax by an additional we call it
1%.
1%.
Right.
Now, in the environment that you describe, where we're already borrowing a lot of money, and the economy is fragile, as you say, we're in a feeble recovery, is raising all of these taxes the right approach?
No, it isn't. These taxes are particularly regressive, first of all.
Right.
As you say, they these are taxes that particularly impact middle class and lower middle class families that don't have the discretionary income. They reduce jobs rather than produce jobs because the message to businesses are that we're going to be reducing consumer spending by $1 or $2 billion if all of them pass, and that's going to impact the consumer-based economy that we have. So it's well-intentioned. I kind of understand the rationale, which is, gee, if we tax people and bring in a lot of money and then give that money to private companies to do bridges and roads, that will produce employment, but well-intentioned, but doesn't work, doesn't get good results.
But, Mr. Comptroller, yours is the only voice I hear like this in the state of Maryland.
Well, as you say, I look at the data every day, and I try not to be conservative or liberal or left or right or Republican or Democrat. I'm just telling people the facts, and I don't mean to be pessimistic. I am very optimistic about the economy and the region. We have a wonderful state, but facts are facts. There are 240,000 Marylanders desperately looking for work as we speak. And to see all of this discussion of tax increases must seem unbelievably callous and foolish to them.
Well, I live in Virginia, and we sometimes end up reaping the benefits of the tax structure in Maryland. We had some folks calling in yesterday, at least
Mary
one guy.
Katharine, we want you to move to Maryland.
I know. Well, you got to work harder. But the interesting thing is we had somebody call in who was, I've got 6 employees, it's tough here, and he was going to move his business to Virginia. We talked to folks who used to work at companies that used to be in Maryland but are now in Virginia. What do you think can be done to curb the appetite for the continued spending and the continued borrowing? Like Brian says, we don't hear a lot of people talking about it, and it's a tough thing to do. Is it just more education for people, more public outcry? What is it?
Well, for me, it's leadership and management down in Annapolis. I believe that with the existing budget that they have, they can If they improve the delivery of some services and remove some of the activities in state government that have been the subject of audits that have showed a lot of inefficiencies and wasted money, I think we can safely satisfy the public, do our job as a state. We have a tremendous state. This competition with Virginia sometimes gets a little overheated. You have a lot of advantages over there. We have a lot of advantages over here. But the key thing for me is during these tough times, take a 2-year timeout on tax increases, honestly balance the budgets, get rid of the smoke and mirrors and all of the legerdemain that's there, all the accounting tricks. Get a new relationship with business, particularly small business. You brought up that example where we reach out to them and say, look, we're going to give you customer service. We're going to make you happy with the state of Maryland. And then finally, I have a bipartisan initiative on financial literacy for young people, requiring it as a mandate for graduation from high school, that they know what a budget is and credit and debt and interest. And, a lot of people like that.
Could you line up the state legislature to take that course, sir?
Well, no, I've put my hand up and said I'll take the course too. But the point is that we don't have to spend a lot of money and increase our debt and raise our taxes in order to fix our state economy. We can fix it through good management.
Have we actually cut anything? Have there been cuts in the last couple of years?
The governor says that we've cut, I think, $6 billion.
Is that in future spending, or is that in actual real money?
It is. We still have a structural deficit of well over $1 billion, even though we've had record tax increases over the last 4 years. So the fact of the matter is that if they have been cuts, and I don't want to get into a dispute with my leadership, if they have been cuts, they certainly haven't been ongoing cuts, or there's been new spending put in, because we still have this massive structural deficit. And I emphasize again that people basically are good people on both sides of all these questions down there. It's just that we haven't had somebody that has been able to say, we don't have to disagree. We can take a time out on all that stuff we fight about. 5 years from now, we can go back to fighting. If right now we fix the budget, fix our fiscal situation, get our people jobs. And here's my pet peeve. The rhetoric about jobs from politicians is, every time you turn around, people are talking about how they support jobs. Where are the jobs? At least in Maryland, they haven't appeared. We've been at the bottom of most states.
I would argue, Mr. Comptroller, that the reason that there aren't more jobs in the state of Maryland is that the tax structure for business is abysmal in this state and needs to be changed. And yet that's not the message we're hearing from the governor. It's not the message we're hearing from the Speaker of the House. It's not the message we're hearing from the Senate President.
Well, the message from the Republicans is to cut taxes. I have a different approach. I just say hold the line. Let's do what families are doing. Let's consolidate, hold the line on spending, borrowing, and new taxes for 1 year or 2 years until everybody gets their feet underneath them. Small businesses catch their breath, consumers catch their breath, and let's focus not on the rhetoric of creating jobs, but actually what works, be it Democrat or Republican or conservative or liberal, whatever it is that works and creates jobs in Maryland. Let's focus on that, work together.
Well, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it.
Sorry to pontificate to you guys.
We really appreciate you coming on.
We appreciate it. Hope you come back on soon.